There are some Georgia lawmakers who want to do more to save expecting mothers. The legislation is being talked about as the CDC released new numbers that show pregnancy deaths are up, especially among minorities. The majority of the deaths could have been prevented. Jennifer Bellamy joins us, and lawmakers say the new information reinforces the need for the government to address this.
Yeah, and sadly, the main risk factor here is being Black. It's a situation that's highlighting the racial disparities in care women receive throughout the course of a pregnancy and even after.
Bringing a child into the world doesn't just mean the additional care of a new baby. It can also mean an increased concern for the life of the mother. According to the CDC, Black, Native American, and Native Alaskan women are 3 times more likely to die before, during, or after the birth of a baby, and more than half of those deaths are preventable. The number of deaths, about 700 a year, is relatively low, but it's been rising over the last few decades, even as maternal mortality elsewhere around the world has fallen. And a lot of it has to do with the heart. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists recommends women have a comprehensive heart risk evaluation 12 weeks after they deliver a baby. But up to 40% of women don't go back, and payment issues could be a factor. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker and Massachusetts Representative Ayanna Pressley introduced legislation to address the issue. It's called the Maximizing Outcomes for Moms Through Medicaid Improvement and Enhancement of Service Act, or MOMMIES. The goal is to significantly increase the time period Medicaid will cover a woman after pregnancy from 2 months to a year. If passed, the state-based assistance would help mothers below a certain income level, but benefits and eligibility would vary depending on the state.
The 2 lawmakers say several organizations have already endorsed the bill, including the March of Dimes. It's also being co-sponsored by several Democratic presidential hopefuls. Now, this problem may sound familiar to you. 11 Alive investigative unit Atticus has been leading the way in raising awareness on this important issue. Their digital investigation, Mothers Matter, has been watched thousands of times online. You can find it right now on 11alive.com/mothersmatter.